Hello, Michael. Hello, Norman. I'm so happy to have you both here today. Welcome to KSU, Kennesaw State University. The first question is to you, Norman. I want you to tell us a little bit about why you give to KSU and Radow in particular, and how that support you have received in partnering with Michael and our team at KSU has allowed you to make greater impact and feel a sense of fulfillment through your giving.
My love of KSU started by not with philanthropy per se, but with elbow grease and my expertise in real estate. 24 years ago, I saw an article in the paper that KSU, which was then a small commuter college, tried to build student dorms, and they were denied. So I wrote him a letter and said, did you ever think of trying this? And he invited me to lunch. And lo and behold, he said, you're now in charge. And so over a course of a decade, I added about $600 million of real estate to the campus. I doubled the size of the campus, and I really fell in love with it and saw the opportunity. And all during that time, this just 2 decades, we went from 5,000 full-time students and 6,000 part-time non-traditional students to 43,000 students. Really, it's been truly remarkable. It's given me a lot more than I've given it, I assure you. Michael's been, our financial advisor for the longest period of time. Tell us about everything you've learned that you've taught me and now you've learned since about how to give philanthropically.
Clients of ours give philanthropically for many reasons, but it's always the best when there's real intent and you have the passion and you had that intent. So when we have that, it's very easy to help a client design a philanthropic mission statement, which I think is such a crucial element of any effective giving plan, is to know what's meaningful to me. What are the core tenets or the pillars, as you mentioned, that are the most important that I want to make sure are exemplified in every gift that I make. I have a question for Katie, which is, could you talk a little bit more about the impact of this gift on KSU?
I will, and I'm somewhat humbled sitting next to Norman while I answer this question. And I'm not overstating when I say that the naming of the college is transformative. When you have that weight of a named college, it is game-changing for what you do. It has elevated humanities and social sciences to a level that has respect from our colleagues and in the community, the overall support of our academic mission and our student success goals. For example, the Lindy Scholar Program, where they come to live on this campus. It really does allow them to come to school full-time, not have to work those 2 jobs, to be able to participate in the Honors College. They can network with other students. They can feel at home in the Radow College.
We just saw that coming in.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It's beautiful.
How the students have gravitated to it.
It's beautiful. The furniture is welcoming. I have seen students thoroughly enjoy the layout, and it's now the most beautiful lobby on the campus. So we also have the endowment of the Radow Institute for Social Equity and some of the work that we're beginning to work on in terms of diversity, equity, and inclusion. But it also is important when I go out and seek out support from other donors and prospects, because Norman's contributions and his acknowledgement of the importance of what we do is just key. When you work with a donor like Norman, you really do want to begin to marry what we have to do as a college and our mission, but also the interests of the donor. And when you can bring those 2 things together, like something so much better ends up happening.
Absolutely. So, Norman, I'll ask the last question, which is, what do you think are some of the core tenets of creating a great philanthropic partnership?
Well, you realize when you give philanthropically, you're, changing a life or lives. You're changing an organization, and that's permanent, right? That's a legacy. And so the first thing I look at is, what do I want my legacy to be? Mine was to pass down the idea of giving to my children, to my grandchildren. So the first thing I did was bring my children into the conversation and make them part of the collaboration, and so that they would own, let's say, the gift to Kennesaw State University, and that they would want to continue it long after I'm gone. The second thing you then need is philanthropic partners to help advise you and help set up the legal portions of giving. Well, the first thing we did was form a donor-advised fund with the Atlanta Jewish Foundation. Very soon, the foundation came to us to help us and others in the community pool our resources to do something really important. they're investment advisors, and they're investment advisors. But to have someone who actually believes in your family and loves your family and becomes part of your family, then can really help advise us on how we give philanthropically, that was really important. And that's why I give you a lot of credit for that.
We tend to talk to clients about three things when it comes to successful philanthropic execution. The first is continuity, the idea that this has to extend beyond one person. The second thing is thoughtfulness about how you're doing it and where you're doing it. And then the last thing is education. All of us need advice. We need advice on how to structure these things correctly, how to explain it to next generations. We've been really fortunate that we have wonderful clients like your family that allow us to immerse ourselves into the family and become part of that. The Atlanta Jewish Foundation does a great job of that themselves in bringing educational material and bringing different thought leaders together to help people find the right places to express their philanthropy. So I really think that continuity, thoughtfulness, and education are really the core tenets of how to create a successful giving plan.
I realized that what the contribution really was advice, information from an industry outside of higher ed. And so it's been really valuable to be able to have conversations with Norman and others, because they're going to help shape the best educational programming that we can create for our students, supplemented by development and foundation funding. Well, I want to thank you both for coming up to Kennesaw State University today. This has just been a wonderful conversation.
We've enjoyed it
Enjoyed it.
immensely. Thank you for inviting us.
Thanks so much.